Thank you so much for staying tuned. If you just joined us, this is TM Ion. This discussion segment is all about the approval to come collect 500 million US dollars loan. Yes, approved already by the World Bank. You know, before you go collect a loan, they check some parameters to see if you really qualify to get this loan. Well, maybe the World Bank, they've dotted their I's and crossed their T's about Nigerian issue, and they are sure, they are certain that Nigeria is qualified for this loan. Do you think we should be happy about this? Or is it going to be another sad story? We have Ahmed Mamadou from Houston, USA. We have another Ahmed Waike all the way from Okmila, yes, in Edo State. In the studio, I have Iyeyemi Wright, and of course I have Honorable Napoleon Agbama and Okoro Osaho Obaraye, aka Put Food on the Table. Let's move over straight to Houston, where Ahmed Mamadou is standing by. What do you feel about this development? Ahmed, are you there? It's like we are having some technical issues, so I have to bring it down here to the studio. Okay, fine. So Ahmed, over now to you. What do you feel about this? Is it a cheering news that Nigeria is qualified, according to the World Bank, to get this loan of 500 million US dollars?
Oh, yes, it did. This is very good news for us because this means that the multinational, multilateral financing agencies are beginning to see that some of the reforms that the federal government has instituted is worth not just celebrating but supporting. So to break it down a little bit, what the World Bank has done is said that they're giving loans to support the economic reforms on one hand, and on the second hand, they are giving specific loans targeted at helping out some of these reforms. For example, they targeted some of the loans to the health sector, some they targeted to the primary health centers, some they targeted to irrigation, power supply, etc., etc. So what they are trying to say is that the federal government reforms need support and stabilization in forms of funds that they feel the federal government will be able to pay back at some point in the future. You can only give loans to people that you feel are able to pay back. So it's cheering news because it also means that our credit worthiness is increasing, even though we have a lot of liabilities. But they are saying that look, with the reforms that have been instituted by the government, they see light at the end of the tunnel, and they want to join at the beginning to support so that we can get to where we'll be more stable quicker. I think that is what we need to take away from this. And it is indeed positive news. It's good news. So we should be thankful for this.
All right, I'll come back to it. Now let's move straight to Okpila. Ahmed Ewaike, you heard Ahmed Mamadou that he said it's good news, it's cheering news. That means somehow Nigeria is working. That's the reason why the World Bank really want to risk giving us the loan. What do you feel about this?
Yeah, thank you. I may want to disagree slightly with my brother. The loan to us actually is not a bad thing, but to me, I'm seeing it from the other angle of that. With these loan facilities that we're always taking, I think it's going to chain Nigeria down to some extent that as we keep on paying this loan, our naira will not continue to be having more weight. That is my own understanding. I may not be a good economist because that's not my profession, but I believe that going for this loan on a regular basis will continually to affect our naira growing, and at the same time making us to remain under the chancles of this same world powers, IMF and World Bank, as the case may be. So at the end of the day, we will not be able, to back the way we needed to back because he that paid the piper has the thing the tune. As long as you are indebted to them, they tell you on how to go about your monetary policies and the rest. And I don't think there's no developed country in the world that want Nigeria to surpass them or even come closer to them. So they will do everything humanly possible to ensure that we remain on the developed country and continually continue to beg them for help. So making them to be like the master, then we'll be in the slave. That is one side. The second thing again is that getting this $500 million loan, we have gotten so many loans before now. have we been able to point to one or two projects that this loan actually will use it for, and we actually achieve success from it? That's one other angle from the Nigeria aspect. Yes, my brother actually, stated rightly what the loan was going to be used for, even including assisting the educational sector, stuff like that. Yes, it's a very wonderful one, but come to think of it, when this money is being disbursed, is this money going to be used for the purpose, or has this money been used for the purpose at which this money was, borrowed? So to me, I would love to discourage the federal government, the state government, as the case may be, to reduce their, borrowing spree, as in their borrowing capability. They should reduce it. Let them come inward. Let them come back home. Let us think of what we can do in order for us to be able to generate some level of funds for us. If it means cutting down some expenses and then putting money, there's even between needs and wants. Let us look at the things that we really need, not the things we really want, and let them focus their energy on that instead of just borrowing and borrowing and borrowing. So it has an advantage, but to me, as Nigeria is now, we'll have to think of how to be giving these Western worlds some long rope so that we will not continue to become slaves to them perpetually. Thank you.
All right. All right. Now, Okoro Sorobanya, you heard him. Ahmed from Houston says, look, it's a good thing because they've checked our books. We are loan worthy, we are credit worthy, so they are willing to give these loans to assist. Ahmed Waika, on the other hand, says no because of past experience. You keep on borrowing, you keep weakening the naira. Now, what do you have to say about this as a citizen of the Federal Republic of Nigeria?
Yeah, thank you so much. Our leaders are suffocating us with loan, and it's not a welcome development. But you can also be a good businessman without doing the borrowing and paying method. A good businessman borrow money and put it on that business, and later from the yield and coming from that business pays back the loan. The problem with Nigeria is that immediately we receive this money, the diversion and incomplete construction work. Now, they said all the sweet things to collect it is good. If things like that had continued, I'm sure we'll not be where we are. If the money, the $16 billion that was used for light in the Obasanjo's era was done right, we'll not be collecting on that loan again.
$6 to $7 billion.
Yeah, yes. Then was put it well and done well rightly then. I'm not sure we'll be collecting another naira loan again for same thing we've collected before. So you can see that the loan issue with rigmarole, we're still sitting on the barber's chair, just turning around. Are you getting that? So it's high time we fix things right to say, if we are collecting this one to build a studio, until that studio is built to as we past promised, we won't get another one. So that whatever we get from that studio, we start doing it back. If we are collecting the money to build Lagos, Benin, Ibadan Express Road, we will not do any other thing until that road is done. I keep telling you, since 1999, Lagos, Ibadan Express Road has always appeared on Nigeria's budget, till date. Same with this Abuja, Kogi, Okene Road. Since 1999, it appears on budget. It appeared on Aneni's budget. It appeared on various ministers for works budget.
All of them.
Yeah, it has the same issue, even Fashola's issue. And lights matter, so they collect loan, do something. So we still go back to the same issue. That is why it's not shameful when we hear it. It's not what we celebrate any longer. But if it was something that, if truly, like my friend would say, don't go and collect money from Lapo and get married to another woman. Because by the time you finish with that issue, paying back becomes a problem. But there have been successful people who collected money from Lapo and started Gary business, started pure water business, and from there, from a table, moved to a kiosk moved to store moved like that. It was like, I get it now. So that today, if that person wants to go and also borrow from World Bank, people will sign to say, I will follow you, because they've seen how you moved from a kiosk down to store and now to a plaza or shopping mall. Yeah. Not you collecting loan. Now this loan, we've heard it. That is the most suitable, you've heard it. You won't know when it comes in any longer. You know when it appears any longer until you want to borrow money again in the nearby future. So it's not something that me, Osama Koba, is happy about, because you people just borrow this money and don't put it on the right channel. So if you want to really borrow money as a president, make sure if you give it to the Minister for Works for this job to be done, you, even if you are the monitor, as a president, monitor the minister. The president should visit site to see how work is going. I know you have a minister who's supposed to do that job, but since you are the one borrowing to keep doing this issue, why not also see that the money that you are borrowing on your time is being executed and done rightly?
All right.
Are you getting that? So people will not mock you. Because sometimes if you ask a child now that is not well articulated to say, who is the Minister for Works, the child will mess up not to know. But if you ask that child, who is the president of Nigeria, it will tell you Tinubu, even if he does not know it's Ahmed or Bola, but he will say Tinubu. So he's going to tell you who borrowed the money. People will not say it's the minister. People will tell you it's Tinubu that borrowed it. So he should also sit upright to make sure process like that from the first source to the last source is being monitored.
All right, I'll come back to you. Honorable, well, you've been an administrative officer, the topmost top in the local government. Now, this borrowing thing, some Nigerians, just like Mamadou Ahmed, they're really happy about it, saying that Nigeria is solvent enough to go for this loan. And Robak is saying yes, that means we have something good coming our way. What do you feel about this?
Thank you very much, Wilson. In our local government level, if there is a maximum that you can borrow, and before you borrow, it must be approved by the state government. And you must direct it straight to the project in which you borrow that money from. And like he said, Obahari, there is a supervisory ministry from the state, including the chairman himself, that will supervise to make sure that that money is well utilized over the project you borrow money to do. I think from the national, if I want to take it up from my own personal experience, I have not seen a country all over the world that the bent of borrowing that had developed. I read in a paper a few months back from one of the revolutionary African countries, where military just took over this Syrian law war, that they are almost debt-free, external debt-free. And as such, the people are looking inward to make sure that their country develop. And what is the man doing? Eternally borrowing. Nigeria have big dudes. They have big people who can borrow that said money to the federal government. Why not go to this type of people? I listened the other day when they said an estate was owed by Mefele. And so money has been recovered from Sani Abacha. The other one has been recovered by. Why not call these people and let them bring those money for federal government to do what they want to do so that we can move forward? Why borrowing? Because I do know that those, if you are borrowed right from our local experience of borrowing, if I'm indebted to you, you have the right to even control me to do about what you want to do to me or talk to me. And that is what is dragging African nation backward in terms of development, both scientifically and otherwise. We should disregard every time borrowing. Like he said, yes, if you borrow and take it straight to the project in which that money is being borrowed, monitor it, supervise it, and so that you can easily, within the time framework, pay back that loan, there will be no problem. That is why when I read about yesterday from social media, I think it's very correct, the National Assembly is saying that they should create an account, a single account, where all this borrowing will be going into, so that they can monitor how that money goes on that account, who is being given that money to, and which project is being directed into. Because this money they are being borrowed, like Obahari said just now, we have just said that the World Bank has given them the opportunity to borrow. That will be the end. The time they will take it, how they execute it, nobody will be aware. And if the National Assembly is very serious and it is having a very designated bank account that is being paid to, they can use their oversight function to know whether this money we are giving to one person, we are giving to a group of people, or we are fully utilized to the project in which that money was borrowed. And I did, from there, Nigeria will move forward. Another nation will copy from us that, yes, through there we can monitor if this borrowing are be jet toward the reason it was being meant to borrow.
All right, spoken like a true administrator, because you've been there, so you have a single account, but we don't want to do that. Open up to you, Yeyemi.
And to be frank, I think this borrowing of a thing is not a news to cherish, because IMF and World Bank, these are Western institutions. They are here to drive their own interests and to control the developmental condition of underdeveloped nation, and that's why they are here. They are not here to help us or develop us, but they are here to exploit us. And ask yourself today why Africa is still a dependent nation is because of all this borrowing. We have to look inward because we have the mineral resources here. And that's why education must be a vital policy of any functional government, because you must pay critical attention to education. We fail, our leaders have failed to do this thing. That's why we are here today. You understand? Most of this institution borrowing us. Why are they borrowing us? Because these are another level of exploitation. They're not borrowing you because they want you to develop from where you are. They are borrowing you because they want to condition your growth. Control your growth.
But for what they say they want us to grow, settle these assets. So that they're giving the money. Is it the fact that we're not using the money properly?
What we need to do is that we need to domesticate production. Whatever we consume, we should produce it. We don't need this President Bola administration has borrowed up to $6.45 billion in 16 months. So
is it billion or million?
Billion dollars. If you equivalent the whole loan he has borrowed for the past 16 months is about $6.45 billion.
We're going to investigate that amount, okay?
Yes.
But please continue.
Yes, $6.45 billion. But look at it today. Look at the policy. Look at what are we seeing today. Are things working? Look at the developmental policy of this government. People are suffering. People are dying. You understand? The economy is not appreciating. The economy is depreciating. Even people running smaller business are finding it difficult. And if the developmental policy of administration is not working, the proper thing for you to do is to go and retool it, because whether you like it or not, development is transcended. They don't need to tell us things are improving. We should be the one telling them that things are getting better, because you feel it. Now today, the man in Benin, the man in Kaduna, the man in Sokoto is feeling it that things are very difficult. The same way too, if things improve, the man will feel it. You understand? So we have to look inward. We have this mineral resource. The other thing is that government has to cut this humongous spending, this bogus allowance, salary, and they have to look into those. They have to look into those areas. There are a lot of waste in our government. You understand? And borrowing, yes, it's good to borrow, but those money you're borrowing, are you utilizing it for those projects it was meant for, or you are diverting those money for personal consumption? And it's not a good thing. But we can see that if you borrow for capital expenditure, and you know you're going to generate that, and you're going to generate that proceed, we should borrow to reservice, to reservice that debt. You can see it is a good borrowing, like what the budget our governor presented of recent, telling you that capital expenditure would take a chunk of the budget, and that is only because you have to provide infrastructure, because for we to connect from the rural area to this marketplace, and to, you understand, for easier accessibility, because you have to create a lot of infrastructure. I think if you borrow to do that one, and those infrastructure, whether you like it or not, it will ease the economic activities of those areas, and it will multiply to the general economy.
All right.
So if you borrow and you'll be able to refinance those borrow from those projects, I think it is a welcome development.
Okay.
You're not borrowing for consumption.
We want to go for a break right now. When we return, we'll continue with the discussion. Thank you so much for staying tuned. If you just joined us, this is TMI. We're taking a look at the approval of 500 million US dollars loan for Nigeria. A cherry news or another sad story. My panelists, they've been talking about it. And I know you've been following the trend, but it's like, do have a positive inclination to all these when compared to my other analysts. Mamadou Ahmed, over to you. You heard the opinions and, of course, concern of other panelists saying that taking in loan is not an issue, but it will weaken the naira and make us to be subservient to the World Bank because we have to follow the rules and regulation in terms of economy. After all, we all know too that the Nigerian economy right now is not doing too good. Take it up from there.
So yes, all the fears of my co-panelists, everything that they've said, they are all valid fears. The history of the federal, let's not just say the federal government, the history of institutional government in Nigeria regarding the collecting of loans and the application has been very poor. In fact, I read a report, I think a few months ago, that said in the totality of loans that have been collected from different multinational organizations in Nigeria is in excess of 2 point something trillion naira. And there's, of course, none of that translated to what the loans were taken for. So these fears are valid, but we cannot keep saying because fire will burn, we will not use it to cook. At some point, we must understand that, yes, loans are an integral part of modern day development. There's no country, even the US, as I speak to you, most of the loans the US owes is to China. If China decided that they wanted to take their loans back from the US would probably be bankrupt. So what are we saying? We are saying, yes, there's some skepticism. It is natural because of the history of the misapplication of funds and the misdirection of funds. But we've come to a point in time in the national development where it is necessary for us to understand that these are necessary evils. We must take loans to finance some of the programs. We must take loans to stabilize the economy. Look at, for example, one of the aspects of this loan is to stabilize education. Now, if you have a workforce that is properly educated, they can build the country. If you need to target the loan, say, for example, you want to say STEM, you want to do science, technology, and engineering, etc. That is how you build the manpower that will take the country into the future. They also talked about irrigation. There's perennial flooding in different parts of the country. So that loan is geared towards addressing some of those issues. Then we're talking about electricity. The national grid has failed a few times in the past, and the current minister of energy power has said that we need in excess of, I think he said something in excess of 1 point something billion to be able to build a robust grid that can power the country to become the industrial giant that it needs to be to enable us see the dreams of our future. So several aspects of these loans have been targeted for specific intervention. Like the panelists have rightly pointed out, we need to be able to follow up. The Senate needs to be able to oversight properly and make sure that these funds are applied to the specific areas that they were intended for. And I think we should just give, maybe this will be the last time that we'll have this kind of issue, but let's give this a chance and see how it turns out.
All right, thank you. Your last comment, maybe this will be the last time we have this kind of issue of loan. My guess you're like, what? Last time in this country? Anyway, let's get to hear from Ahmed Iwerike. You heard Mamadou.
Not the last time we will take loan. I mean, the last time we will have the issue of not trusting that the loans will be properly applied.
Now you've made it clear. I was like, last time we take loan. No, the last time we hear of, not rendering accounts. Well, Ahmed Iwerike, now what do you have to say about it? He said we should learn to trust. After all, he said the U.S., the nation that has the strongest economy in the world, they're also indebted to a great turn, but it's not affecting them the way it's affecting us here in Nigeria. Iwerike, over to you.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Whitson. I quite agree with my brother 100% that yes, the Nigeria is not the only country borrowing. In fact, in Africa, although Nigeria seems to be the highest borrower, then in the world, Nigeria is not even compared to, in fact, to the highest debtor in the world. Countries like India, United States, Indonesia, in fact, Malaysia, Pakistan, in fact, all of them, they are all debtors as well. But you compare what is happening there in their country compared to us, you will now wonder what is happening to us. So our fear is that if our economy were to be moving fine, the naira is strong, and you are telling us you want to go and borrow to make it even stronger, fine and good, we all will clap for you. Because as it stands right now, there is no way Nigeria will not continue to borrow. Because as far as people will look up to, because our democratic system is a copy and paste type of democratic system. So our mentor, the UK, the United States, in fact, they are all borrowers as well. So as long as we look onto them that they are borrowing, so they all will also queue in the same part we borrow. But the money should be well utilized. That is just our fear. You understand? If the money is being utilized properly, we will not be having issues. In fact, if you check our blueprints, they are always wonderful. Like my brother Mahmoud have explained now, to be used for irrigation, to boost the educational sector. The minister is saying that we want to build to have an energy, a super energy that will take care of Nigeria, make us become a superpower or a powerhouse, as the case may be. These are all beautiful stories. But at the end of the day, my brother, the possibility of them coming to pass is very, very slim. I always hope, and I've said it on ITV before. When I was in university, when the then Audu Ogbe was then PDP national chairman. If I can recall what they told us as at that time in Abu Saleh, in fact, I would have been thinking by then Nigeria would have been better than Dubai.
All right.
Everything they told us at that time, they all ended up in
Thank
lies.
you.
So I pray that they utilize it very well, that this government, do they trust that we will beat our chest to say, yes, we trust this government.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ahmed Ewaike. Well, Obara, over now to you. We're commenting our dissent on this discussion. What advice do you have for this great nation as we opine that borrowing may not stop, will not stop? What do you think we should do? 1 minute.
Yeah, the government of Nigeria should swallow their pride and open up that things are not moving well, so that we can start saying things well. If we can take a Dangote to build a refinery, what stops the government from also saying, okay, this you've built, we want to borrow money, help us also do this one. Are you getting it now? I'm sure that if you are aware where Dangote refinery is, the roads there are all top standard, top notch. What's also stopped them to say, okay, this Lagos-Ibadan expressway down to Benin, help us take it, put toll gate and collect this money for, let's say, 5-10 years before you leave it, maintain it like that. Are you getting it now? Yeah. It's time Nigeria swallow their pride and start diversifying economy, let businessmen come in fully to help us do what they are doing their own. Okay. Are you getting it now? If Esama of Benin has been able to hold ITV since 1997 and standard is high, what also stopped them to say, take NTA and give us a very high standard and let's do this? Government must not be everywhere.
Thank you so much, Okoro Sabaraye. Honorable, over now to you. 1 minute.
Thank you very much. Why I support my friends, because that is what I earlier said. My only advice is that the present president have a lion heart. He should let us see that translating to out of these programs that is on ground, because he's at the head of affairs. And the National Assembly too, to actually be serious in telling the federal government to create an account, a single account, where they can monitor through their oversight function how that money has been spent, whether it is really just to the project that is meant when it was being borrowed. And I think when we continue with that, that is what my brother was just saying just now, that it now will be the last where people will just think that you just borrow and you borrow just to share with it those who are the helm of affairs.
Thank you so much, Honorable Napoleon Agbama. Iyeyemi, 1 minute.
Yes, to be frank, I think borrowing is not bad, but whatever the money is being borrowed for, it should be judiciously used for that project. And to be frank, I think if you are borrowing, you are not borrowing for personal consumption. You are borrowing to invest in a project that could generate that proceeding in order to finance the borrowing and whatsoever. And I think that is the only way we can go, You see the issue of Dangote building one of the largest refineries. We can do more. We can do better if we put our hands together, because it's because we've not been able to turn our finished goods, to turn our material, to turn our raw mineral goods into finished goods. That's why we are here today. We don't need all this borrowing. We should look inward.
Thank you.
Domesticate production.
Thank you.
Our nation will be a better place.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, EMA. You've heard them. Don't forget that some few years ago, we borrowed, 7 or 6 billion for the power sector. Where is it today? Our problem is accountability. That has been our issue. Now I've been given a go-ahead, yeah, but it's like, clapping. Someone's saying, no, this is not going to be too good for Nigeria. Sharing news, another sad story. Only time definitely will tell. Thank you, Ahmed Modu, all the way from U.S. Houston, and of course, Ahmed Iwaeke, also from Okmila, and of course, I appreciate you, Honorable Napoleon Agbama, appreciate you, and of course, Comrade Yeyemi, I really thank you for coming. Well, see you some other time on this platform. Bye for now.